Well, happy Friday, everybody. I'm Nick Slavik. I'm the proprietor of the Nick Slavik Painting and Restoration Company. I'm also the host of this show, Ask a Painter Live. It's a weekly live Facebook show where I use my over 2 decades of experience as a painter, a craftsman, new construction guy, industrial painter, wallpaper hanger, colorist, to answer any of your questions. Now, if you're a homeowner, what have you always wanted to ask a professional? And for the pros, anything you want to talk about here, this is a forum to discuss topics and create some quality engineering between all of us here. So marketing, entrepreneurship, apprenticeship, coding science, production, things like that. This is all what we're here for. So today, I'm going to kind of walk you through what I've been doing around here, but today is the big cabinet extravaganza show. The most questions I get throughout the year are about cabinets, trim, millwork, doors, painting them, how do we do it? And today, my yearly episode, my annual show, I will actually walk you through the process here. Now, a couple things are going to happen. I'll take care of a little business first, and then I will get to some actual demonstrations. For those of you who do not want to sit through this, I think the last time it was way over an hour. For those of you who don't want to sit through the minutia of that, I'm going to do a quick 5-minute run through on how I paint cabinets, doors, millwork, things like that. After that, we're going to dig in and take a deeper look at why I do certain things. Now, when I go, last week I was actually in Chicago at the PDCA Craftsmanship Forum, and the PDCA Contractor Question of the Week has something to do with a question I received while I was there. And it was specifically about how do you do fine finishes in new construction? Because everybody thinks that new construction is for the lowest of the low painters, and not only can you not make money at it, you can't even start to do the finest finishes at it. And I've basically built that side of my company around doing super high quality finishes for people who know what they're looking for. Not the rich people, for my experienced customers. So the PDCA Contractor Question of the Week has to do with that, and we will address that in the process here. Now, this house just got turned over to us today. It's this beautiful, beautiful home. I'll see if I can turn this around here. We are going gangbusters in here. We are going to, if everything's on track today, we're going to finish the ceilings in this place. We're going to get the walls primed, and we're going to start prepping our cabinets here. I guess that's about it for that. So basically, I'm just smart enough to understand that I don't know everything about the painting world. And when I present my master's classes, like the one I did in Chicago last week, it's usually about a 3-hour thing. I usually get compressed to an hour and a half or 2 hours, and we completely run out of time every time. But this is a forum. This is not me standing here telling you, if you don't do this, you're wrong. Everybody in their own market, having grown up in the painting world differently, is going to do something differently. So we all develop our own methods. Now, there's a few assumptions that we're going to go into before we start getting into the actual nuts and bolts of this. The assumptions are, I'm trying to provide the finest finishes that my market will bear. There are some crazy 2-part, must-be baked, furniture and super high-end finishes that you cannot apply in the field, or this market will not bear it. And by bear it, I mean pay for it. So what I do is I say, what's the most readily available? Price really doesn't matter, but you also don't want to go find those weird niche products. When I recommend a process or products, it's basically anybody watching this, minus all my Brazilian friends down there, you'll probably be able to find this stuff within a short distance of you. Everything I use, I can be had within about 14 miles of my house. So this is a universally accepted thing. I'll walk you through any questions you have. At the end, if anybody wants to go live with me, we do have that option now. Depending on how much time we have left, we may end up doing that. Look forward to next week. I'm going to be doing some dual live feeds. I'm going to try to do one through my own feed here, and I'm also trying to find somebody who's willing to go live with me and interpret Portuguese so we can do a live broadcast, a question and answer session for all my Brazilian friends and for the rest of the people worldwide. So in the crazy world we live in now, translation is not a problem. You just have to keep switching over between Google Translate, copying and pasting, and going back. Makes for a rocky show, as you can imagine. So, okay, we're going to dig into this here. Last night, I posted this for you guys. This is basically my quick and dirty, simple guideline. This is the processes I follow. This I can talk about for 9 hours straight, and all the minutia and the coating science and why things are the way they are, the molecular structure of primers, top coats, all my tests. But basically, this is it right here. Now, everybody likes to talk about what kind of spray you're using, what kind of brush you're using, what kind of top coat you're using. That stuff is sort of interesting to me, but what's more interesting to me is what type of coating is it? Is it a water? Is it an oil? Is it an alcohol? Or is it a hybrid? Things like that. So now, bear with me here. I'm going to go through a 5-minute quick and dirty presentation on how to paint your cabinets. After that, we're going to dig in, and homeowners and pros alike, you can come out of the conversation. Any questions you guys have down here, I would be absolutely willing to answer. I'll go through this stuff and then I'll scroll through them at the end. And I have a whole bunch of good stuff for you here. I have a cabinet that's actually going in this house. I'm going to prep and prime this for you. I have some cabinet doors. These are scraps. I just keep them in the shop for samples. I will show you how I prep it, how I prime it. And then if time allows, I have my beautiful Ferrari of a sprayer, my air-assisted airless here, and I'll show you how that works too. So, okay, buckle up, 5 minutes. Basic cabinet enameling, the prep. You prep the space. You cover the countertops, you cover the floors, disassemble the cabinets, label them all. The lights in the room, if you have hanging pendants, take them off or cover them. The ceiling, if the ceiling is real close to the cabinets, tape and plastic that off. And then the cabinet interiors, which I'm actually going to show you in a little bit after this quick one here. Plastic off the inside of the cabinet so you don't get any micro droplets in there. Disassemble, label everything, wash it. If you got greasy cabinets, use TSP and water. TSP, by its science, its molecular structure, will actually emulsify grease and turn it into a soap. So for anybody who's had really, really greasy cabinets, if you've used lacquer thinner, alcohol, things like that, you would think, man, that's going to cut right through it. A lot of times it doesn't do much. TSP and water, by its science, will emulsify that and get it off. You fill major imperfections in it, either with a caulk for all the cracks and where it meets the wall, or a wood filler, sandable wood filler, if you're covering hinge holes or if you're covering dents, dings, scratches, things like that. Scuff sand, vacuum, and tack rag. So microfiber here, sanding sponge here, and shop vac with a, oh, sorry. No, that's okay. You can toss them outside if you want. That'd be just fine. Okay, so then you get your shop vac here with your brush attachment. You scuff sand, you vacuum, and you tack rag. So basically, you sand it to give it a little tooth, you vacuum off the dust, and then you use a microfiber with a little bit of water to get all the fine dust off there too. You prime it. Quick and dirty, I could talk about this all day if you want. Find some oil primer, odorless oil primer, regular oil primer, whatever you have to do. Put some on there, do a scratch test. You leave it overnight, see if you can scratch it off with your fingernail. If it doesn't scratch off, proceed. Spray, brush, roll, whatever you have to do to get an even coat on there. Let it dry overnight, test the adhesion. When it's dry, fill your minor imperfections. A lot of times when you fill cabinet doors like that, you're going to find that there's little bits of open grain, or there's dents or dings or things that you didn't see before. Fill those, and then you're ready for first top coat. Quick and dirty, again, go find yourself a hybrid top coat. Whether you're brushing, whether you're rolling, whether you're spraying, Benjamin Moore, Sherwin-Williams, a whole bunch of other companies have a hybrid oil-water mix. Very easy to apply by hand, very easy to spray, super high-quality finish. I usually like a satin versus a semi-gloss. They end up being a little shinier anyway. Let it dry overnight, or at least 16 hours. Slightly scuff sanded. You just want to give it a little bit of tooth so the next coat adheres. You shop vac it off, tack rag it off, apply your second coat. Give it as much time as you're willing to cure, and then rehang everything. And that's about it. Readjust your cabinets, maybe touch things up if you nicked them, putting them back up. And that's about it. So there's the quick and dirty. Now let's get into this stuff a little bit here. Okay, we have a kitchen disassembled, we have the countertops covered, we have the floor covered with rosin paper. Everything is safe, the appliances are encased, ready to go. So we have all these cabinet boxes and we have all these cabinet doors. What do we do with them? I will show you here. I'll readjust my camera. All right, so first thing you want to look for is See those little vinyl or rubber bumps? You get rid of those guys. And there's usually a small little adhesive circle there. And we scuff sand. So if you got maybe 150, 180 grit, something like that, just give it a quick scuff sand. We're not removing the finish. All right, so again, if people want me to strip cabinet doors, you might as well go get new ones made. For somewhere between 15 and 30, maybe 35 bucks a piece, you can have a door made. My labor to completely strip these things would outpace the cost of that. So all we do is scuff sand it. You're making little hills and valleys in there so that the primer can adhere to it. Now that you scuff sanded it, take your shop vac with your brush attachment. I don't have this guy plugged in, but you basically just go over, hit all the surfaces like that. There's actually a vacuum hooked onto my Merca here. And then microfiber towels. I love the black ones. It tells you how much dust you have in here. These things are super tacky. They almost stick to your hands like Velcro. Dip them in water, wring it completely out so there's almost nothing left in there. And then you just mop up the last of that dust. If you just blow it off with an air compressor, you're creating a lot of atmospheric dust in here, unless you have a shop with some air scrubbers and things like that. This will get that last bit of stuff off there, and you basically just want to get all that little trace elements of dust in there so you've got a super smooth finish. Okay, now that we have this, we prime. Well, prime in a bit. I should walk you through prepping these cabinets, the boxes themselves. So, back this guy up here. Okay. We will do this here. All right. Standard tools for prepping these boxes. I got my roll of free tape, and I got my 3M hand masker with 4-foot in there. First thing to do, or I like to do, is to step the tape back a little bit. So I put a rounded tape first, then I put on my plastic, just to give you a little bit of a cushion between the rails and stiles and that, so in case your plastic is loose, it doesn't bounce back with the sprayer pressure. So I'll just do a ring of tape here. Push it into the corners with your fingers, and then because most of us have fingers that are worn away by work, we can't get in the corners, so I use a tool to assist. Do the sides, and then we will do the bottom. Okay, so we have our ring of tape now. Now we're gonna put our plastic on. So when I cut my plastic, you don't cut it to the exact opening. I like to go a couple inches out. What you do then is you curve the plastic around the corners and down, so when you secure your plastic, there's not that weird pinhole in the corner. And when paint gets through this stuff, it's usually in the corner. So I usually grab it maybe an inch or two in like this. Press it up into the corners and holding it, you can expand your plastic here. All right, next thing you do, I'll move the camera down here. Next thing you want to do is tack your corners down so you have tight plastic. And when I tack it down, if you pull it tight enough, your plastic will actually line up here so you can infill with a piece of tape. When I tack in that corner too, I put it over the whole corner so that's a complete airtight seal down there. All right, so I'll do my sides and then I'll do my bottom. And I'll pull this thing off the tripod and show you a little closer here in a second. One last little piece here. Okay. So we're all sealed up. You can see we got our nice set back plastic. No areas where paint can possibly go through this stuff on here. Okay. So now we are ready to prime. I'll walk you through my setup here real quick. Okay, we'll make our way back over here. So this is kind of my go-to here. This is my 390 STS. This sucker is 24 years old. It's been a painter as long as I have. I only use this pump for oil primer. My kind of go-to is cover stain. Then I have my Ferrari, my 395 air-assisted airless here, which I'll show you in a little bit. Follow the line back here. So, being sort of a privateer, you know, I'm not really beholden to any companies. I like to just pick and choose whatever I can that's the best of the best. So we got our Graco sprayer. We got our Titan switch tip. I find that the combination of this pump and this guy, I think this one is a 311 here, the switch tip, so you have not only the pencil tip but the fan tip on that thing. It really lets you get at some of the cabinets here in a unique way, and I'll show you that in a second. All right. Flip this guy around and I'll walk you through spraying a cabinet. That side towards you because there's actually a paintable side here. Okay, so all right, the benefit of this is obviously this isn't a you don't want to force a lot of paint through this stuff. So the switch tips for me, this side gives you a sharp pencil spray. This side here gives you a nice fan. So it's ideally set up for the fan will do the sides here. The pencil will do this. Now, the biggest problem that people have with cabinets is getting runs in all these areas because they overlap too much. Normally, with standard spray tips, you kind of only get one pass. If you keep going over it, you're just adding coat after coat after coat. So basically, the switch tip, and a small switch tip, I've used the ones in the 2s before. 3s seem to be pretty good, at least for oil primer. Oil primer is pretty heavy bodied, and we need a little bit more robust tip. So basically what I'll do is I use the pencil tip to get in the insides, this 3/4 inch kind of piece of the style here. I'll use the pencil tip for the front, and then when I switch over, I'll hit the sides with that. So, pardon me for no mask right now. I'm gonna quickly spray this for you. All right, and what you're seeing is you can hit areas multiple times. It's a very forgiving tip, it's very small. So if you don't have pinpoint accuracy, if it's a little light in a corner, you can really lightly give it another shot. I would just urge you not to start in the middle of a stick, always start from off to the side. It always ejects a little too much paint right away. So now that we have our styles here, we're gonna switch this over to our fan. Hit this guy. All right, so oil primer. You let this stuff dry overnight. Technically, this stuff dries in a couple hours. Everybody knows who's used this stuff, that if you leave it go overnight, at least overnight, it sands so beautifully the next day. I'm gonna take you over and show you how we do a door. Let's see here, here we go. Okay, now, same tip I like to use here because often you have a lot of big pieces in your shop. You have some smaller stuff too. I use the fan in this case to hit all the edges because it's a little more forgiving. What I do first is do the perimeter of the cabinet, and then I do metered passes across the top. So that sets up a beautiful cabinet for you. That little bit of orange peel disappears overnight. The stuff dries just beautiful if you put on the correct wet mill thickness. And then, like I said, once this stuff dries, it sands just beautifully. You can get it just mirror smooth with just minimal sanding. Wonderful stuff to work with. And also, you know, some people look down upon the oil primer. I've never had anything bleed through with it. I've never had any adhesion problems, and I'll show you some of that stuff here now. I'll switch this around. All right, back on over here. Now, for anybody who's followed me for more than a few minutes, you understand that I kind of I go deep with the science of all this stuff. I like to do lots of tests. I like to figure out why things do certain things. Now, if you go to a home store and you say, I'm gonna paint my cabinets, they're gonna hand you a gallon of water-based primer, and then they're gonna hand you a gallon of semi-gloss wall paint, and you could not come up with a worse system, a worse thing to do to your cabinets. Minus stripping them, you'll probably have to replace them if you ever wanna do them the right way. Here is what happens when you use water-based primer over an unprepped cabinet. What you see on TV, those half-an-hour shows where they redo a kitchen, this is what they do. I did the water-based primer on this. I did 2 coats of Benjamin Moore Aura, super hard, high-end finish here. Even though people think, well, I got some crappy wall paint on my cabinets, I'll just paint them with something. I'll varnish over them, I'll put a nice enamel over, and it'll hold it in. You can still scratch this stuff off, no problem. So if you have a weak layer on your cabinets, I would consider getting new cabinets, getting new doors, or stripping them down, because it doesn't matter what you do to the top. You can make it okay, but it'll never be as good because you have that weak layer in there. Okay, so then everybody says, well, hey, listen, I like water-based primer. It works good for me. What if I do a ton of prep to my cabinets? Well, this is a cabinet door with a ton of prep done. It's scuff sanded, sanded with a random orbital sander, shop vacked off, tack ragged off, and then even after that, I wiped it down with alcohol, denatured alcohol, just to make sure. And you can see with this cabinet, there's bleeding coming through. Water-based primer does not stop bleeding. I think this is a pretty pronounced area here. You can see where it held out a tiny bit, probably because there was just more primer here, versus a standard, to the highest wet mill thickness coat here. It bleeds through. Now, it might encapsulate that, but are you willing to give a chance or take a chance on this when you're dealing with a kitchen cabinet process? Pros, you guys know that this can be a 7-day long process. It is for me to do a kitchen the right way, the way I want to do it. Homeowners, if you're doing this evenings and weekends, you will become discouraged fairly quickly if this stuff does not stick and it bleeds through. So again, water-based primer with professional prep done to it. Water-based primer, no prep done to it. Now, this primer is oil primer. It's on the same shelf as the water-based primer that you're going to be handed incorrectly at the home store. This was applied the same way using all the same equipment. Let's see which side we got here. Fully prepped, professional prep, absolutely nothing done to it. This came right off of the kitchen, laid it down, and sprayed primer on it. Nothing, absolutely nothing. So everybody loves Bin. It's a shellac-based alcohol primer. You still might have bleeding problems, and certainly there's less adhesion as this. There is no exterior approved use for shellac. Some people seal knot holes with it. I'm not a believer in that. It does not play well with water. Lacquer, which almost all cabinets are done, all millwork are done in new houses, and shellac have a very close molecular structure. It's like spaghetti. When you spray lacquer, when you spray Bin or a tinted shellac primer, you're basically taking a handful of spaghetti and throwing it at something, and however it lays, that's how it goes. Because there's entanglement, there's microscopic pores in there, and water seeps through and it can't get out again. So anybody who's ever seen a white ring on a bedside table, kitchen table, things like that, that's actually moisture that's migrated through your lacquer top coat or shellac top coat, and it can't escape. That's moisture trying to get out, but it can't escape as fast as it went in. So there is no exterior approved use for lacquers or for shellacs. For that reason, that's a self-evident statement, at least in my mind, that they're not as water friendly as oils, waters, hybrids, things like that. Now, I say that knowing that it is the industry standard. Pre-cat lacquer, post-cat lacquers, things like that, nitrocellulose lacquer. Every single house that's built nowadays is finished with it. It's not because it's better, it's because it's better for the contractor. It's not better for the homeowner. Anybody who's had a new house where the wood windows turn black in the corners after 3 years, it's all lacquer. Moisture gets in there, can't escape. So that, for that reason, I stick with this stuff. And some would say that oil primer like this has not a bad a smell as even lacquer. So if lacquer was water-based and it had no smell and it dried quick and it was impervious to water, I would use it. But the only thing lacquer does for you is dry quicker. So that's why I like my oils. This is full prep, this is no prep, and everything adheres perfectly. It fills the grain a lot better, not any smellier than lacquer. And after seeing this, some would then say, well, then why do you do all the prep? When somebody calls me to do their cabinets, they expect no excuses. And for the prep that I do, plus this, that's belt and suspenders for me. And then you top it off with a nice top coat, and I sleep well at night. There's this sleep well at night factor that I have that my acceptable level of that is way lower than a lot of other people's in my trade. the slightest thing that goes weird in these jobs keeps me up all night, and all I want to do is take care of my people who trust me with their houses. So when I do my prep, when I do my priming like this, it lets me sleep really well at night, because I know if they open the phone book and made 100 phone calls, they're not going to find somebody who's going to put more thought, more effort, and more expertise into their cabinets like this. It is not perfect. You will chip these cabinets. There's oak and there's a metal frying pan, and it doesn't matter what happens, the paint is still the weak link between there. If kids hit their rolling toys into it and stuff like that, it's going to scratch. If you rub metal against it, it's going to scratch. It might even chip. It's just the way it is. Now, there is the other option, which you could just buy new cabinets and have those finished as well. And the chasm between refinishing versus getting new allows for a couple little touch-ups here and there like that. So this is a series of test cabinets that I've done. I have about 20 more in the shop. This was the basis for my master's class in cabinet finishing. I'll be doing a master's class this winter at the National PDC Expo about new construction finishing, and I'm doing the same thing with drywall finishes. The trim enameling will be part of that, but I have my shop full of drywall samples right now. So, okay, we have things primed. Let it dry overnight. We do the same process again. You sand it, you shop vac it, and you tack rag it off. You apply your first top coat. This is an oak cabinet that I carry around as a sample for people like to see what type of grain comes through these oak cabinets. This is the standard oil primer prep. Your 20-year-old cabinet door, give or take 15 to 20-year-old cabinet door. Oil prime, and then this is 2 coats of your top coat. This is a hybrid top coat from Benjamin Moore. So you apply your first top coat. You want to go easy on this stuff. Hybrids and oils have a tendency to have a longer open time, especially when you're spraying them in mass. New construction, the temperature in these buildings is usually lower. You got to be careful for that. So nice easy coats. 3.6 wet mils is, I believe, what you want to put on with the hybrid top coat that I use. It's really not that much paint, so don't overdo it. You're not going to be doing yourself any favors if you put too much on. Let that dry 16 hours. I've done it much quicker than that, but that's not what the technical data sheets say, so I adhere to the longer drying time. I pump my shop up to 77 degrees. We have air cleaners, we have filters, we have all sorts of good stuff to evacuate dust and things like that. 77 degrees, I let it go to 16 hours, and you recoat it again. At that time, after that second top coat dries very quickly. We package them up with cotton, super soft cotton fleece towels and rags in my trucks, vans, things like that. You take them directly to the job site and you hang them directly. You do not stack them, you do not leave them in a corner, you don't lean them on anything, you get them going right away. Now, I have a whole bunch of drying racks in my shops where, let's see if I can find one. This cabinet door has 2 holes in it for hooks. I actually have racks on the ceilings of my shop that have measured holes like this for hooks, so that when we spray them, if we have to do a job quickly, I like to take 7 days. If you want me to do this in 5 days or 4 days, what I have to do is finish both sides at once. Normally in my shop, I lay them all flat, one side at a time, the most beautiful finish you'll ever see. Now, when you hang them up like this and do both sides, you can't put as much wet mill thickness on there. I like the stuff to naturally dry as much as you can. I do put the heat up in my shop, but I don't have a crazy amount of wind blowing through. I don't want anything screwy to happen. I want it to take its natural course, let whatever needs to evaporate out of it evaporate, coalesce, and then become the good finish that it's supposed to be. So, but those measured hooks, I can spray both sides and we can hang it in the shop. Not my preferred way to do it. I just feel that any finish that's laid flat like that, especially when you talk about filling the pores, everything laying flat really helps that out. So okay, you reinstall it all, you adjust it, you touch it all up. Let's see if I missed anything here. I think that's about it. I think I'm going to scroll through some of your questions here. See what we got going on. Oh, we got lots of stuff today. Okay. Tim, thanks for watching today. I appreciate it. Tim Marcellet, old apprentice of mine. Thank you so much. Ron Poe, appreciate you watching as well. Matt McHugh, Carrie Gino, Terry Fleming, thank you all for watching. Gabe Hardy, Athena, thank you for watching. Juliano Alcantara, my good friend. Richard Heilman, another fellow pro here. Klaus Suglia, thank you for watching. Maurizio, you as well. Gabe Hardy, thanks for sharing, not a problem. Bruno Valesk, Patrick Song, thank you guys for watching. Vonderlei, Primo, Jody Trinka, good friend of mine. Jose, thank you for watching. Dave Bastier. Yeah, I wish they had the automatic translation thing on this stuff here, Juliano. I'd love to see it. Once this stuff posts, it translates it for you, but not for this year. Joe Finch, Nick Slavik, the man, the myth, the legend. Hey, thanks a lot, man. A little undeserving, but I do appreciate it. Anthony Cade, thank you for watching as well. Matt Godade, thank you for watching. Another local fella. Bader, thank you for watching as well. Roberto, Michael, Terry Liuski, another local fella. Chris Shank, the great and powerful Chris Shank. Zach Dubinowski, thank you for watching. Christy Locke, Melinda Stika, Sarah Perryman, thank you for watching as well. You always have some good projects going on at St. Paul House. Angie, thank you for watching as well. Christy Locke, you like the sander? It's brand new to me. It's a wonderful toy, and it's been fun to use, my new Merca. So Simon's just doing the Lord's work down there in Africa. There he is. He's a very ambitious, interested fella, and I love corresponding with him down there. And it's amazing the reach that we have with all of this, with all this stuff now. Paul Schmidt, thanks for watching. Merido, thank you for watching. Christy, do you ever use tack cloths? Christy Locke, do you ever use tack cloths? I swore them off years ago. The way that traditionally painters would make tack cloths is either taking linseed oil or thinner or even varnish sometimes, thinning it way down, putting it on cheesecloth, and then that becomes sticky, and it sort of, sops up what it needs to in the dust. The only problem is you're imparting imperfections. You don't know what types of oils that these people use in those things, so you might be leaving, if you're doing some tricky, oil primer is very forgiving in that way. It will usually take up a lot of that stuff, but I don't introduce any variables that I can't control into the process. I have predictable processes. I have gone to straight microfiber stuff. These things can be used almost all winter. We wash them out. A lot of the times I'll grab a dozen of them and we'll throw them in a wash machine or something like that too and clean them out. They go for a long time. Now, having said that, there's a contractor that I respect very highly who does finishes that are way better than mine on interiors of houses, who still uses those real tack cloths. So again, I'm not smart enough to say don't ever use them, but I have a super good alternative here that doesn't introduce any variables that I don't want into the process. So Jesse Krennick, thank you for watching. Austin McCracken, Simon, thanks a lot, man. I always appreciate the back and forth. Roger, thank you for watching, sir. Joe Delafave, saw Joe again down at the Craftsmanship Forum, the friendly local Benjamin Moore rep. It's always good to talk to him. Andrew Godet, Sil, thank you for watching. Bill Kendig, Brandon Seminario, thank you as well. Monty, Steve Jurek, thanks for watching as well. Christy Locke, great info, no problem. Jason Witt, thanks for watching. Local home builder. Jeff Morrow, another local fellow there, thank you for watching. Anderson, appreciate all you guys watching here. Sam Onan, appreciate it as well. Shirley, Archie Bartell, one of the coolest guys I've met in the painting industry. He works for Sherwin-Williams and super enthusiastic, super knowledgeable. Archie, I always appreciate our talks. Rob, thank you for watching. Felipe, you as well. James Mushets, oh yeah, childhood friend of mine and local cabinet builder here. So Javier in Spaniel, very little for me, probably not enough to convey any useful points. Gregory, thank you for watching. John Spencer, Brent Judd, Andy Chadwick, fishing buddy of mine, thank you for watching, Andy. Abu Omar, thank you for watching, sir. Frank Shaw, Shane Sexsmith, Casey Wilcox, Jessica Baker, I appreciate it as well. Mosen, Rachel Pexa, Kevin DeCoste, thank you for watching. Jennifer McSherry. Shane, how do you feel about full professional prep and lacquer undercoater for the prime coat? For reasons I stated before about lacquers and shellacs, lacquer has a physical molecular structure that makes it not play well with water. And in a kitchen, it's very important that you have that. Using a lacquer undercoater and using a different top coat, you're introducing a lot of different chemistry that a lot of us don't really understand. And even at the point where I've talked to the people who made this, they've showed me little ball and stick models of how it all works. You're introducing a lot of tricky variables where when oil primer is so forgiving, I have a hard time deviating from it. Now, I understand that basically the only reason that people would go to either lacquer undercoaters or lacquer top coats, pigmented lacquers, is drying time. And for me, I have this mantra that I go by: is it better for me, is it better for the homeowner, or can we find a situation where it's both? And I've come to the conclusion, again, this is not me saying you're completely wrong if you do it, because I understand the industry is based on it, but for me, the choice between a lacquer undercoater or an oil primer would solely be for the benefit of myself. I don't believe I'd be giving the homeowner a better finish with a lacquer undercoater or a lacquer top coat. And you know, most of the time, like when we're in a new house like this, we have tons and tons of cabinetry and millwork to do. And yes, lacquer will dry in 30 minutes, but I can't possibly restart all the millwork and cabinets in this house in 30 minutes. I'd be lucky to get one coat of something on in a day. And then we go home at night anyway. So unless you really need to do something in 30 minutes, I find less and less reasons to do that stuff. But Shane, thank you so much. And I say that knowing that I'm one of the 10% who do things other than lacquer in the industry. Shane, over previously lacquered finish. You know, all the cabinets that I do, all these are lacquered. And my basis is I don't care what's on the cabinet. I don't care what's been done to it previously. If it passes the scratch test, which is the fingernail overnight, or I can show you again here, the crosshatch test. You can see my little crosshatches there. You take a utility knife and you make a series of scores both way. You use tape over the top, burnish it on, and pull it off. If nothing comes off, those two tests are sort of cheap, unintelligent tests that you can do in the field that will determine if the coating will stick. I've never had a coating fail or come off if it passes those two tests, and most of the time the scratch test will tell you that. So I'm way less concerned with what's on there, and most of the time the lacquer has failed on these cabinets, so I'm less inclined to use a coating that's failed within 10 years again for that reason, Shane. Michael Ross, thank you, sir. Christy, lacquer undercoater won't seal stains. From my experience, undercoater is best on new wood. I would probably agree with that, and only certain types of new wood. Brian Kuhn, thank you so much, sir. Luis Fernando, thank you for watching. Anderson, you as well. Tyler Hansen. Shane, I've been doing lacquer and undercoater over old stain and lacquer with no issues whatsoever. It holds up pretty well. And again, that's why I always give the caveat. I understand that I'm the minority in doing a lot of this stuff. So I would, and again, the same thing I said at the top of this program. This is not me standing here saying this is the only way to do it. Everybody finds their own way to do it. Everybody gets a comfort level. You obviously wouldn't do anything with your own business that would intentionally hurt yourself or make you not get paid. So if it works for you, that's a great thing. And again, this is not me saying this is the only way to do it. This is just the way that I can get myself to get a full night's sleep. Yachek, thank you for watching. Russ Perry, hey Nick, hey to you back. Bev Lynn, thank you for watching. Deb Remker, Ramsdahl. Oh man, Hector, thank you so much for the comments. I'll get those translated as soon as I'm out of here. Johan, thank you for watching. Joe Wonder, a good friend of mine. Rob Morris. Juliano, show your staff on the inside. I tell you what, last thing I'll do here is I'll do a quick walkthrough of everybody. Austin. Austin, when hanging them, do you fill the holes after you're done or leave them? With these here, I fill those, I make sure they're smooth, and I touch them up. Now the trick, you can see here that there's the handles here. If you want to know which end of the door to drill in, 99% of the time, the opposite of whatever the handhold is. So think about your kitchen. Your upper cabinets are like this, your pull is usually on the bottom like this. You don't usually see this stuff. So even though I touch it up and fill it, you're still less likely to see it. Now, think about your lower cabinets. reversed. Your handles are usually up higher. If you go opposite of that, that's where you drill your holes. That's about 4 inches from the floor. So even though I fill them, again, introduce less variables, less reasons for something to go wrong in a job like this. So even though they're filled, even though they're touched up, even though they're seamless, I still hide them away from the homeowners just because. Why not? Why introduce more risk than you have to? Brent Judd, oil primer, I like cover stain. Juliano, Genesis, great show, Nick. Love following your stuff, Genesis. Keep up the good work, man. I appreciate the feedback. Lucas, thank you for watching. Anderson, Rebus, hello to you too. Freddie Lopez, Richard, I'll second that on the cover stain. No bleeding issues in 18 years that I've seen. High build, sand's great. You've used it enough before too. We probably get ours at the same place. Unbelievable product. Like, yes, it might take a tiny bit longer to dry, and yes, it has a smell, but my God, when you can almost guarantee it'll stick or not bleed, it's tough to go away from. Gabe, could hangers that are designed to the hinge locations help with the holes? Yes, they have a whole bunch of that stuff. Guys come up with all sorts of, coat hangers. There's things you can buy from Rockler Woodworking for $7 a piece that will actually go, well, not these. These are a very unique sort of 1980s, 1990s hinge, but the cup hooks, or the cup holes here. There's actually things you can put in there that have hooks on them. Kind of expensive. I found that there's a lot easier stuff to do with that, and I've never had any problems in the 10 years I've owned my own business. But yeah, there are ways you can spend your money for that problem to go away. Christy, great info. I use tack cloths and microfiber. Good to hear. Adam Sir, thank you for watching. Dave Napier, thank you for watching so much. Scotty Yeager, good to see you, man. Joel Hamburg, saw Joel again at the Craftsmanship Forum. Always good to talk to you. He's got Minnesota connections. Shane, thank you, Nick. No problem, man. This is what this stuff is for. This is a forum. Every time I do one of these, every time I do one of my master's classes, I add something to it from the feedback from the people who watch it. So this is very useful to me as well. Lucas, hello, sir. James Gilbert, thank you for watching. Joe Odendahl, thank you for watching. Fernando, Joel Hamburg, good stuff, Nick. We still swear by using sticks. Works great over previous and new wood. And Joel, sticks is the most requested primer for me to use. When I put a call out for primer, sticks always comes up over and over again. Fernando, thanks a lot, my friend. Jill Augustine, thank you so much for watching. Sergio, Austin, good stuff. Thanks, Nick. No problem. Dave Copeland, Mark Johnston, my good friend, the historic restorationist. Socorro Castro, thank you for watching. Tom Miller, Jim Barrett, down in Florida. Brent Judd, awesome, Nick. What do you think about water-based adhesion primers like sticks? A good alternative, but I still run into some adhesion stuff and some bleeding stuff with that. And even if it's only a tiny bit, or even if you have to scratch just a little harder to get it off, it still comes off. So eventually, if the environmental laws tighten up and I can't get oil primer anymore, I'm going to either a hybrid or a water-based system, but hopefully with the hope that it will adhere better. So even if it's 1% more likely to scratch, I have something that works every time, all the time, no problem, readily available, super inexpensive, bomb-proof, fail-proof. It's the standard. It's gravity. It's air. It's the sun. It just doesn't go away. It doesn't surprise you. Doesn't fail you. So I appreciate that, and I say that knowing that everybody else has their own gravity, their own thing that's a standard for them. This is just what I found available to me and what I've had zero problems with. Nick Bray, thanks for watching. Brent Judd, thank you, by the way. Awesome show. No problem, guys. I really do appreciate this. I'm going to do a final walkthrough here. I believe a drywaller just came in. They're doing some stuff in the garage, but I'm going to give you a quick walkthrough of the job site here, and then it's Friday. We're getting out of here. We're going to get our stuff done. We're going to go home to our families. Have a great weekend. Everybody, thank you so much for the support on this. I love this show especially. This was my first master's class that I ever did. I have to bite my tongue a little bit because I can talk about this for 9 hours if you guys want to. So I had to kind of rifle through this. So any questions you guys have about this process, hit down below here or send me direct messages. And everybody have a good weekend. Let's do a quick walkthrough here. Let's make sure the appliances aren't huddled up in a cabinet somewhere. So. Oh, you know what? I did forget something. Let's fire up that Ferrari sprayer and do a little spraying with that guy too. Here, let me. All right, so I'm gonna get rid of this prime one. All right, so this is a wonder of a machine, my air-assisted airless from Graco. I have I believe a 210 or a 211 fine finish low pressure tip. I've been experimenting. There's so many variables on these machines. I've been keeping some things constant and messing with pressures and things like that. You can see the basis of this sprayer is you have a standard airless sprayer with a little compressed air blown into it. So you have your standard line pressure, which you can take way down, and it inserts puffs of air around there, so it atomizes it better. So you can do a good amount of paint, super low pressure. It gives you a lot of flexibility, a lot of stuff like that. So we'll spray quick with this guy. All right, so one thing in particular, you'll notice the difference between a standard airless and an air-assisted airless is that an airless will put out about twice as much pressure for the average coating, and what you'll find is that it'll level out quicker, sooner. With this stuff, you have to grin and bear the orange peel because it'll settle down. It puts on the same wet mill thickness, it just does it in a softer way. And in about 6 to 7 minutes, this sucker will be just mirror smooth like that. But there's a huge learning curve that you have with that. Obviously, you think, oh my God, I got to either put more on, I got to put less on, I got to do something different. But that's just the way that sprayer works. You have to have faith in it that it'll do what it'll do. Now let's do a quick walkthrough here, see who's sleeping. All right, we'll go back to the master suite. We got some cabinet prep going on here. That's what I like to see, getting aggressive. Half the body in the cabinet, doing prep work. So getting all those ready for oil primer. We have stuff being saved from overspray. We have some primed walls, and we're going to be hitting the ceilings here shortly. One of my apprentices is lost and wandering. Drywallers going after it back there. We got another wandering apprentice looking for something to do. So yeah, we're just working our way through here. This job site, we will get the walls finished. We will prime the walls. We will get the ceilings finished. We'll get whatever cabinetry here primed, and then we're handing this back over to the GC. And then they will install all the trim, and we'll be back in here doing a combination of stain and oil varnish and enameling like this. So thank you everybody for watching. It's been a fun time, especially with the Craftsmanship Forum in Chicago, and now this, and I appreciate all your feedback, and we will see you guys next week.